This is a presentation about changing methods of psychiatric learning. It draws its ideas from a variety of perspectives. The first is that of being a psychiatry trainee in Australia over the last decade. The second perspective comes from the shared experience of training gathered from the trainee website, anzac.org. ANZAP stands for the Australian and New Zealand Association of Psychiatrists in Training, and together they have built a community co-op type website which links them electronically, allowing them to support each other and share material. I started my training in 1998 and have been involved in many different forms of training, initially traditional and as the need arose with increasing dependence on the internet. When I sat my written exams, there was an interesting mishmash of psychiatric stuff on the internet, some okay quality, some pretty basic, and some very patchy. By 2007, when I set my clinical exams, the quality, grouping and searchability had gone up an order of magnitude. I no longer used my textbook and used the internet as my principal means of study. When I started training in 1998, the establishment had remained largely unchanged for a few generations of psychiatrists in training before me. Universities provided formal education courses to complement the clinical work and training curriculum. The medical colleges, in our case the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists, would be there to oversee selection of suitable trainees, define the curriculum and standards, run the examination process, and give the nod on admission to fellowship. The hospitals, where we were working, usually provided tutorial-type teaching to support either the subspecialty education or exam preparation. The calibre of this was more likely to be high if the hospital was located in a tertiary referral metropolitan setting. Congresses would provide the yearly digest of latest research or academic stoushes, and much of our specialist information was acquired from a few chosen peer-reviewed journals. One registrar described the usual practice of reading the blue comic, the green comic, and the silver comic. Of course he meant the British, the American, and the Australian and New Zealand journals of psychiatry respectively. A select group of publishing houses, often affiliated with universities, would provide the general textbook and the subspecialty texts. At the start of training, a trainee would choose which side of the Atlantic they preferred, for instance ICD or DSM classification systems, and then decide whether they wanted the concise or expanded edition as their most important ally in negotiating training. Frequently there were connections between different parts of the establishment, so a clinical director would also be a college member who had written a chapter in one of our books, had a university appointment, and might even be on the editorial board of our journal. The usual teaching method was to start from scratch and use the tabula rasa approach to knowledge in the trainee, reminiscent of medical school. The courses in particular were synchronised with the normal progression of full-time training and were geographically bound. You had to attend them. In my case, when I became pregnant for the first time and had to take a break in training, I fell out of sync with the way things were arranged. I couldn't physically attend much of the teaching. I could no longer get to the establishment, and the establishment could no longer get to me. In the last decade, our world has changed. Government policy meant that psychiatry was taken out of the specialist psychiatric hospitals and integrated with general health. This meant that we moved from large training cohorts to small fragmented satellite groups. We lost our space, critical mass and mentoring from the cohorts ahead of us. Our training course changed, with new exams and an expanded curriculum, and no past papers to advise on how to proceed. However, there was a merging of curricula as part of an Anglo-centric globalisation of training, which provided access to new material. Alongside this, there has been a dramatic change in the breadth and depth of quality of psychiatric information available using the internet. We are now being connected in a way that we never have been before. It's become a part of our lives so quickly and easily that it feels habitual, even to the extent that it organises the way we do things, from chatting with friends to watching programs. If we look at psychiatric learning in particular, a number of types of sites have emerged during this time. There are the community-type sites where a cohort will share resources on how to get through specific assessments. These can be affiliated with a teaching course or be a more informal co-op type site. High-quality databases such as the Cochrane Review and Medline searches are available online, and if one has access to a university library, a good array of electronic journals can be accessed from home. University sites, which enjoy high privileging from search engines, tend to be consistently disappointing. This might reflect interdepartmental bureaucracy or possibly IT departments functioning like sheltered workshops. Wikipedia has demonstrated the most interesting and prolific growth of any Internet information entity, with citation laws and content and style guidelines that shape the final product. The language is sensible and understandable, with word-based interlinking that follows the way we think and inquire. The breadth of information in interdisciplinary linking is also a strong bonus. This is the ANZAP site, which brings the community together, enabling them to discuss advocacy issues in forums, recommended books, upload study notes and practice exam questions, and comment on other people's articles. As the trainee population is dispersed from Dunedin in New Zealand to Western Australia, or the Northern Territory to Tasmania, it joins people across time zones and a large geographic area. It uses open source software for ease of operation and updating. The great benefit of the website is you get to see what people have read. The easiest way to do this is by looking at the hit count. Popular articles include How I Studied for the Exams. These are usually personal accounts of the trainee's approach, including economy of approach, morale-boosting methods, problem-solving devices, and general camaraderie for those that follow in their path. Another popular activity is the sharing of practice exam questions. Suddenly, the bricks-and-mortar location of an institution no longer oppress. Geographical boundaries fade away, and trainees can start accessing information globally any hour of the day. In my case, despite being out of sync with my training cohort, I was able to find the education I needed barefoot and pregnant at home. During this time, I was able to email authors of books, access professors from universities around the world, and participate in the intellectual life of my professional discipline in a way that had never previously been possible. Searches are language-based, so searching within a language is easy, but the knowledge remains trapped within them. The obvious concerns around this are the Anglo-centric predominance of information. This includes cultural attitudes and values that are enshrined within a language. An easy way to see this is when reading a psychological text that has been translated from another language. The privilege that emotion or certain concepts are given by the way they are defined in a language can be more clearly seen. A good example of this is the understanding of mind-body dualism that pervades Western writing, or the subjective unscientific label that is given to emotions when discussing the human experience. Seeing things from a different cultural point of view, even if it's by experiencing the different way a language goes about describing something, gives a binocular vision to culture and its influence that can otherwise pass unnoticed. Now what we see is decided in the offices of Google or Microsoft, depending on what search engine is being used. The privileging and sorting rules determine what rises to the top and what makes it in the all-important first page of any search. Organisations that have a better understanding on how to make their information attractive to a search engine will have a better chance of being read. Distribution is now controlled by different rules. The information that is available to us is also equally available to our patients, so the consultation can take on a new quality, with the discussion centering around the doctor's skill of scholarly discrimination and helping the patient sift through the breadth of information that they encounter. Information now gets divided into two simple strata, free and paid. The free information in many areas is good enough and out there getting linked into the public discourse and consciousness. It perches on the foundation of citations, the best of which deemed to be from a peer-reviewed journal. Software integration assists information success, where linking to citation maps, scholarly searches such as Google Scholar, and integration with reference managers assists its uptake. But what are the implications for the establishment? How does the availability of information alter the roles of universities, publishers, doctors and colleges? How does the respective roles and professional definitions change? And what is the implication for funding models? At this stage, the answer to this is not clear, as organisations scramble to redefine and remodel what they do and how they charge.